Ever felt like the tax system just isn't on your side? Well, you're not alone. Let's talk about inheritance tax, a topic that gets a lot of people fired up, and for good reason. Today, we're diving into the story of Jill Guest, a 72-year-old pensioner from Staffordshire, who's facing a common but incredibly frustrating problem with Britain's most hated tax. Jill's situation shines a bright light on a major grievance. The system penalizes single people. If she were married, she and her spouse could combine their allowances to pass on up to £1 million tax-free to their heirs. But as a single person, Jill's allowance is effectively cut in half. She can only pass on $325,000 tax-free, which can go up to $500,000 if she leaves her main home to her daughter. As Jill puts it, "It's not fair that the government penalizes me because I'm not married." And honestly, who can blame her for feeling that way? Jill, a retired IT consultant, has been getting creative to protect her daughter, a teacher, from a massive tax bill. Her home is worth about £1 million. 3 years ago, she had a clever idea. She added her daughter's name to the property deeds. Since her daughter technically still lives at home, even with work accommodation, Jill hoped that after 7 years, her daughter would legally own half the house. This would mean IHT would only be calculated on Jill's half, which would be $500, neatly covered by her allowance. It seemed like a solid plan, but then a spanner was thrown in the works. The government announced that from April 2027, unused pensions will be included in estates for inheritance tax. Jill has about $300,000 in a pension she isn't drawing from. She told us, "I thought everything was all hunky-dory until last year's budget, but now with the value of my house and my pension, I'm concerned that my daughter is going to be landed with a big lump of inheritance tax unless I do something about it." Suddenly, her carefully laid plans were at risk, but Jill didn't stop there. She also set up joint bank accounts with her daughter. One is a savings account with $5,000 that Jill deposited, and the other is a current account where her daughter contributes $500 a month for bills. Jill admits she's financially comfortable with her other pensions and could even afford to gift her daughter about $500 a month from her surplus income. Despite all the tax headaches, Jill keeps a positive attitude. She says with a smile, "If push comes to shove, we'll just spend it before I die. We'll go on some nice holidays." A fantastic Plan B, if you ask me. So, what do the experts think? We asked Will Stevens from Killick & Co. He says Jill has made a strong start because she's planning at the right time. Starting in your 60s or 70s gives you flexibility. Will suggests 2 main strategies: spend more or give more away during your lifetime. But, and this is a big but, before you start giving money away, you have to be absolutely sure your own future is secure. Think about daily living costs and potential care fees down the line. Once you're confident you have enough, then you can look at gifting. Gifting is a powerful tool. Larger gifts, known as potentially exempt transfers, are completely tax-free if you live for 7 years after making them. There are also smaller instant allowances. You can give away up to $3,000 each tax year, make small gifts of $250 to as many people as you want, and there are specific allowances for wedding gifts. One of the most useful but often overlooked exemptions is for regular gifts made from your surplus income. As long as these gifts don't impact your standard of living, they are immediately outside of your estate for IHT purposes. For Jill, who has extra income, this is a golden opportunity. Will points out a neat trade-off. She could draw from her pension, pay 20% income tax on the withdrawals, and then gift that money. This move could save a whopping 40% in inheritance tax later on. That's a smart play. If she does this, her daughter should invest the money tax efficiently, perhaps in an ISA or her own pension, to maximize the long-term benefits. Now, let's circle back to the house. The plan to add her daughter to the deeds might have a catch. If you give away part of your property but continue to live there without paying market-rate rent on the portion you no longer own, HMRC might see it as a gift with reservation of benefit. This means they could treat it as if you never gave it away at all, and the full value would still be in your estate. This is a tricky area, and getting specialist legal advice is crucial. The same goes for the joint bank accounts. HMRC will look at who actually put the money in. For the savings account Jill funded, the whole $5,000 would likely be considered part of her estate. Shaz Bishop from RBC Bruin Dolphin agrees on the gift with reservation risk for the property. She strongly recommends Jill seek legal and tax advice to clarify this. Shaz also highlights the importance of having an up-to-date will and setting up a lasting power of attorney. This would allow someone to manage her affairs according to her wishes if she ever lost the capacity to do so herself. Another practical tip from Shaz is to consider a life insurance policy written in trust. This policy would pay out a lump sum on her death specifically to cover the inheritance tax bill. This way, her daughter wouldn't be forced to sell the family home just to pay the tax. It's about providing liquidity when it's needed most. Shaz also reinforces the idea of using the annual $3,000 gift allowance and making regular gifts from surplus income. She stresses the importance of documenting these payments to prove they are regular, made from income, and don't affect Jill's lifestyle. Finally, there's another interesting option. If Jill chose to leave at least 10% of her net estate to a qualifying charity, the inheritance tax rate on the rest of her taxable estate would be reduced from 40% to 36%. It's a way to support a good cause while also slightly reducing the tax burden. Jill's story shows just how complex and, frankly, unfair inheritance tax can feel, especially for single people. But it also shows that with proactive planning, expert advice, and a bit of creativity, there are ways to manage it. Whether it's through smart gifting, reviewing property ownership, or even planning to spend more and enjoy life, you can take back some control. We hope this breakdown has been helpful. Navigating inheritance tax is a marathon, not a sprint, and starting early is key. What are your thoughts on this? Have you started your IHT planning? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and if you found this video useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more financial insights. See you next time.